Skateboarding is something you can do just about anywhere. You can skate at an actual skate park, you can skate at different types of street spots, and you can even just skate in an empty parking lot. Since skateboarding is such a versatile thing that you can do in so many different places, naturally, people have gotten really creative. In this video, we're going to go over some of the coolest places that people have skated. I'm sure I left out some good ones, so if I did, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Do me a favor and leave a like on the video. Check out the links in the description. And with that said, let's get right into it. Actually, before we do, I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. If you've ever had a specific skill you wanted to learn, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. I've personally taken a few of their classes on photo and video, but they also have classes on pretty much any other skill that you can imagine. They have classes on everything from photography and graphic design to music and art, and even marketing and business. Skillshare is completely ad-free, they add in new premium classes every week, and they even have classes with subtitles in other languages. One specific class I've really been enjoying is iPhone Photography by Dale McManus. Whenever I go skating with my friends, I'm constantly taking skate photos, and even though I've been doing it for years, this class still taught me a ton of useful iPhone tricks that somehow I didn't figure out myself. If you're interested in learning new skills or exploring new passions, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. To start things off, we have skating the salt flats in Bolivia. For this project, Red Bull built an entire skate park out of salt, which doesn't seem like it would work, but somehow it did. Everything from the ground, to the ledges, to the quarter pipes were all made out of salt. At first glance, it might look like it'd be easy to skate, but it's definitely a lot gnarlier than you would expect. For starters, even though salt flats are kind of smooth, compared to the actual concrete that skaters are used to, it's not really an ideal surface. Also, let's not forget that you're literally skating on salt. This means if you happen to fall and get cut, it's probably gonna hurt a lot more than usual. Not only that, but the salt flats in Bolivia are almost 12,000 feet above sea level, so they literally had to bring oxygen tanks.
Because this place is so high from the sea level, you get really exhausted.
Now, I don't know if that was simply to be dramatic, but then again, I've never skated 12,000 feet above sea level, so I can't really say. Either way, it's still cool that skaters managed to build and skate an entire skate park in the middle of a salt flat. I just wonder if they decided to take it down afterwards, or if they decided to just leave it there. Number 2 on the list is skating in zero gravity. When most people think about zero gravity skateboarding, they tend to think about a cheat code in a video game, but it's actually something that you can do in real life.
We are going. Oh my gosh, look how many tray flips I'm doing.
For the low cost of just $8,000 per ticket, you can book a flight on a plane that allows you to skate in zero gravity. Obviously, this is a little outside of the budget of most skateboarders, so there aren't a ton of people who have done it, but it is something that's possible. Also, when I say skating in zero gravity, I'm using the term skating loosely, since technically you're kind of just floating through the air, but it's about as close as you can get. Overall, this is a really cool place that people have skated, and even though it's definitely not the craziest location on the list, it's still worth mentioning. For number 3, we have skating on top of the Great Pyramids. A couple years back, Nick Palmquist was in Cairo and decided to become the first person to ever skate on top of the pyramids. He woke up early, hitched a ride on a camel, hiked to the top, and filmed a selfie tray flip. This means he's the first and probably the only person to ever skate on top of the pyramids, which is kind of crazy to think about. Now, before anyone decides to become the second person to skate there, just know that it's highly frowned upon to climb the pyramids, and security actually beat him up pretty badly when he got down, so it doesn't really seem like it was worth it. Also, despite some people thinking it was cool, a lot of people were mad at him for doing this because it is a historical site. Number 4 on the list is the Red Bull team skating at a stone quarry in Norway. Apparently, this quarry has some type of stone that's even harder than marble, which makes it perfect for skating. To film the project, they created a few obstacles out of the stone and essentially converted the place into that one map from Skate 3. After they were done with the project, the quarry donated all of the ramps to the local town to make a skate park, which was honestly pretty cool. A lot of times when companies pay millions of dollars for these projects, the ramps they use end up getting wasted, so it's good to see that at the very least, the local skateboarders got a nice park. For number 5, we have skating over the Great Wall of China. Basically, back in 2005, Danny Way got the idea to become the first person to skate over the Great Wall of China. This was around the time that mega ramps were first starting to get popular, and Danny Way was one of the few people leading the charge. What makes the whole thing even crazier is that Danny Way actually broke his ankle the day before when he was doing a test run, and still managed to land it the day of. The whole thing was a major moment in skateboarding, and there's very few events that hold the same weight. Since then, there's also been a few people to skate on top of the Great Wall of China, but that's not quite as impressive as jumping over it, so it doesn't get as much attention. Skating over the Great Wall of China has to be one of the gnarliest things ever done in skateboarding, and it's easily one of the craziest places that someone has skated. Next, we have skating a halfpipe on top of a bridge. Honestly, this one's pretty straightforward. There's a bridge in Brazil that has what's essentially a massive vert ramp on top of it, and Red Bull funded a project for Sandro Diaz to go skate it. This is kind of a funny one because if you were a skater who drove across that bridge, you would probably think about skating it and maybe even joke with your friends about it, but then someone actually decided to do it. I will say he only did a few tricks while he was up there, but considering he was 150 feet up, it's kind of sketchy that he even did a kick turn. Keep in mind that he is a professional skater and they had the whole thing set up specifically for this, but regardless, I think it was a cool project. Some people weren't impressed by it because there were nets on the sides, and obviously it was a controlled environment, but despite the nets and safety officials, I feel like most skaters wouldn't even try to skate it. So up next is skating the White House. A lot of you may not know this, but a few years ago, Tony Hawk became the first person to ever skate at the White House. I guess landing the 900, launching his own video game franchise, and getting sponsored by Bagel Bites just wasn't satisfying enough, so he decided to take on some side missions, and this happened to be one of them. Now, I don't actually have proof that he was the first person to skate at the White House, but it does sound cooler when you say it, so we're gonna pretend that he was. To sum things up, Tony Hawk was there for an event a while back and decided to skate around both in the driveway and in the halls. The funny thing is, he actually got a significant amount of backlash for the little bit of skating that he did because a lot of people thought it was disrespectful.
I got invited here because I'm a skateboarder. What do you expect?
Skating at the White House might not seem as exotic as some of the other places on this list, but if you think about it, it's probably one of the hardest places to get access to, so it's definitely a cool location. Next on the list, we have skating on top of a skyscraper. During the filming of We Are Blood, a bunch of professional skaters got the chance to skate on top of Burj Al Arab, which is a famous building in Dubai. It's known as the first ever 7-star hotel in the world, and it's the same building where they've had people box, play tennis, and even play golf. Now, despite the fact that it's a controlled environment and everyone there is a professional, the top of a skyscraper is still a crazy location to skate. In the footage, they essentially just sessioned a bench on top of the helipad, but when you have such an insane backdrop, doing almost anything is pretty impressive. Up next is skating the Moab Desert in Utah. This is definitely one of the coolest skateboarding projects that Red Bull's done, because rather than trying to build a skate park in some crazy location, they just went out into nature and found some spots to skate. What makes this even more impressive is that they actually managed to find a decent amount of spots. In the video, they found some gaps to skate, they skated a rock like a makeshift outledge, and they even found a spot that's almost a perfect quarter pipe. When the video first came out, there were a lot of people hating on it because they felt like the boards were damaging the rocks, but honestly, skateboard wheels aren't really strong enough to cause any real damage, so to me, it seems pretty harmless. So moving on, we have skating a water park. It's pretty much every skateboarder's dream to skate an empty water park, but spots like this are really hard to find, so it doesn't happen often. A couple years back, Red Bull filmed a project where they had a few pros go skate one, and they definitely picked a good location. The water park they skated is in Dubai, and it's located on a man-made palm-shaped island. In the video, they skated a ton of different ramps, and it looks like they really made good use of the park. Now, there have been other examples of people skating abandoned water parks, but this one is still operating, and it's also in a really cool location. Out of all of the places on this list, I think this is the place that I would want to skate the most, but if you think there's a spot that's better, then definitely leave it in the comments. Skateboarders are constantly looking for new spots to skate, and they definitely get creative with the places they find. I tried to cover as many cool locations as possible, but if I left any good ones out, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Do me a favor and leave a like on the video. Check out the links in the description. And with that said, thanks for watching.